pass that on to a patient.
Which they're really ignoring talking about that in mass media, and the government itself. They really, even though it's a well-known fact that live vaccines do shed the live virus in the vaccine, but it's just being avoided completely in conversation, which is suspicious again.
And it's known as well that the flu vaccine, for example, is the least effective vaccine out there, yet people are flocking to get it because there's so much information out there saying, you know, you must have your flu shot, or you know, you can die, or whatever it is. You know, putting the fear of God into people that if they don't do this, then they're doing something wrong, and that they have to do it. And you know, you just walk by a chemist and you say, "Come and get your free flu shot." Well, there's nothing for free. The fact that something's been given to you for free should make you question it as well. But it's, and as well, there's new strains of flus coming out. So how can you possibly vaccinate for something that is evolving and changing and all the time? And it's, you know, there's people out there who are in very vulnerable positions. You know, people who have illnesses and elderly, and it's really unfortunate that those vaccines are being really pushed on them as well, because they're more likely to suffer because of it. Yet they think that if they don't, then they'll suffer more, but that's not actually the case. But they're not being given that information. You know, someone whose immune system is compromised shouldn't be having toxins and chemicals pumped into their body. It's that simple. You want to keep them clean and well and healthy, and
you brought up the flu shot before. Our winter season has passed recently, and there was a lot of mass media coverage of influenza deaths. It was mostly deaths in nursing homes, but there was a few young people that died from the flu this year. But if you read the article closely, they were all vaccinated with the right strain, the current flu vaccine at least. Who knows if it was the right strain, because there's so many strains, but it was there was no flu deaths that I saw from the non-vaccinated, which is interesting. And if there was, we definitely would have heard about it, because they would have then we wouldn't have stopped hearing about it. They'd still be talking about it. So
and I think you've just got to open your eyes to what information is out there and where is that information coming from. You know, follow the money and see where that takes you.
It's interesting how the media plays its role in all of this as well.
Definitely.
Because they obviously are in a position of power, and whenever they report something, if there's, like you said, an outbreak and there's someone who isn't vaccinated, they'll often just hype it up and start blaming that one person, and it just seems to be thrown completely out of proportion.
Yeah, it does. And just to go back to your question earlier about how do we feel about it, you know, the no jab, no school, no jab, no work and fly and all of that. It's, you know, it's putting parents who are in this position now, who can't put their children into childcare, thinking, am I going to be able to put my child into school? Am I going to have to homeschool my child? And again, like, that's a huge thing to have to consider when you're trying to, as a single mum, I can only speak for myself, where I've got to look at, how do I get out there and put food on the table? How do I get out there and work? But if my child has to be homeschooled, how does, you know, that affects me in a massive way. So I really hope that is not something that will be part of our future. But with the way things are going, I'm not so sure. You know, it could very well be, you know. And not to say that there's anything wrong with homeschooling. I think it's an amazing thing, and I would love to be able to do it.
Just not everyone can.
Not everyone can, you know.
I'd probably go insane being home all day.
Yeah.
Do it out in the garden.
Yeah, excursions every day.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing groups of homeschoolers out there, because I have researched it, but again, it should be a choice. You shouldn't be forced into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There should always be a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And children have a right, like a basic human right, to have access to schooling. The government's probably going to, well, I've heard that they're going to try and manipulate that by just
of course.
providing a program for them to follow at home. But still doesn't take away they still have that right to have access to school, to education.
Yeah, and friends and
For sure.
school activities. Yeah. I think personally our family's probably looking at homeschooling. But like in my childhood, I actually really enjoyed primary school and high school, and I loved the broad variety of people that you got to interact with each day at school. So it's sort of disappointing that we probably, as non-vaccinating families, we probably won't have that option. And I'm not, although I read a lot about vaccines, but I would prefer to be, I don't know, running around outside, and I'm not looking forward to having to homeschool, but it might be good once I start.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I'm not at this moment in a position to be able to do it. And we all have 2-year-old children, so that it's not that far off for us, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
I don't
even
really know.
thought about kinder, 3-year-old kinder. I guess that's off the table for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty disappointing, but there are a lot of options for people with local home kinder groups and like bush kindies and stuff. So make sure, if you are worried about that, there's options. So just look hard for that, because I think it's important for the kids to socialise and play with other kids as sort of early as possible.
Yeah, or even playgroup, because it's not a form of early childhood education. You're just going there to socialise.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you can still access playgroup at this stage anyway.
Oh, that's good for now.
Yeah. So that's...
playgroups not... It mustn't be government funded then?
Some playgroups.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go through Playgroups Victoria, like through the council, but there's some community run ones as well.
Yeah.
Or you can even just create your own, like just host at different houses.
Yeah.
Like,
you might love it.
yeah. So I'm just curious, you were talking before, Maddie, about how you're not in a position to homeschool, and I'm assuming because you're not working, you're just dependent of, government benefits and things at the moment.
At the moment, I am pretty much living off my savings.
Oh, wow.
And
I don't have savings, so...
a little bit of assistance.
Yep.
And I can't sustain that.
No.
I have to. So it's very stressful for me at the moment, because I really can't sustain that, and I have to think of ways where I can get out there and just earn money and enjoy what I'm doing as well. But to support my children, I'm definitely not in a position to buy a house, to own a home, anything like that. So I'm renting, which is kind of dead money as well. That's just, I'm paying someone else's mortgage, but that's my that's my issue. But yeah, so I'm and I'm obviously not entitled to full support
Mm.
from the government because I'm not vaccinating.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's important that people know, because when we weren't vaccinating at the start, we assumed we weren't eligible for any payments, and I think a lot of people assume that as well, but we are eligible at the current time. I'm sure they're working on changing it for the main family tax benefit payments. So
Yeah.
I think family tax benefit B,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is actually the bulk of
Yep.
the payment. So hopefully people know that.
Yeah, I think you lose about 700 and something.
Yeah, which
dollars
is a lot of
year.
money for a lot of
Yeah.
people. But I think family tax benefit B is
That's
several thousand.
fortnightly, isn't it?
Yeah, we ourselves get it at the end of the year
Okay.
because we're bad at saving. So that's like our saving. Yeah, but it hasn't exactly worked yet. But
Still need to work on saving.
yeah.
Life goals.
Mm.
Um,
I guess it's fortunate that you had savings. Imagine, like, it would be impossible for you without
Yeah.
the savings.
I
Like,
don't-
what
I
would you
don't-
do?
I don't know. And
It-
as I say, like, it's a short-term solution for
Yeah.
me because I'm just trying to deal with recently losing my partner and
Yeah,
having
that's
to...
enough by itself.
It's enough by itself. It's very, very overwhelming. But he's obviously... he's gone. Like, there's no support from him whatsoever, emotionally, financially. So I've kind of trying to struggle with that and raise 2 kids on my own and have no income, and I'm in a position where I'm having to say, okay, pull yourself together, try and work something out, try and figure out a way of, getting food on the table. And it's kind of made me go out there and just look for support in the community where it's not provided by our government, but reaching out and trying to meet with like-minded families and groups of people who are in the same position as me, and there are lots and lots of people out there.
Yep.
And maybe it's a case of us all in this moment just supporting one another in the best way we can, so that we can, get out there and work and have some time. And because that's really important, that really affects people's mental health as well, and the knock-on effect of this on people's mental health as well is a
Long
massive,
term.
it's a massive thing.
Yeah, and mental health problems are so common these days already. Can't believe they would, effectively add to those issues with their legislation and decisions, and it's surely obvious to them, but I guess they just don't care, or it's not affecting them. They're,
Yeah, and just the heartache for those parents out there who do have to do what they're being told.
Yeah.
It just brings up this, what I said earlier, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah, going against their
Their
research, independent research that they've done, their gut instinct, parental instincts, their own. I mean, most anti-vaxxers in my experience of the last few years are actually ex-vaxxers, in that they're parents whose children have either had adverse reactions or permanent damage from vaccines, and I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, that wasn't. I lost it before that. What was the subject again?
You were saying that most of the parents who are vaccinating were at one point vaccinated. They
Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how hard it would be for them to have to bite the bullet and keep vaccinating and keep witnessing the damage and the adverse reactions, because like some people and some children are always going to react badly to vaccines, and Yeah, I think it's like often the